Just like having relevant and accurate information is necessary to make sound hiring and lending decisions, being engaged in our community is important. DataFax is proud to support the positives and be a sponsor of The Spark.
Since 1964, Memphis Theological Seminary has worked to equip men and women of all races and faiths with the spark to do ministry for the real world. We're grateful to serve our community and proud to support WKNO.
Lipscomb & Pitts Insurance has been serving the Mid-South since 1954. We've always focused on supporting our community and believed in promoting the positives, encouraging engagement, and leading by example. Lipscomb & Pitts is proud to be a presenting sponsor of The Spark.
Additional funding for The Spark is provided by Christian Brothers University, by Meriton, by YX Genomics, and by SERVES.
This month on The Spark, our theme is Around the World from Memphis. We'll learn more about a Memphis-based organization helping people with disabilities, particularly women, in West Africa and around the world. A local nonprofit leading a global movement for peace and justice in Sudan, and a local company that gets behind the scenes to plan and coordinate international events large and small. We'll also share a special moment from our Spark Awards 2016. Ever been excited by a new idea? Inspired by watching someone lead by example? When we talk about creating change, we start by sharing the stories of everyday heroes who are making a difference in their own way so we can learn and do the same. This truth is the power behind this show, which is focused on business and community leaders who are leading by example to give back, fuel change, and create new opportunities for the Mid-South. I'm Jeremy Park, and this is The Spark. They're a Memphis-based organization helping women, especially disabled women, in West Africa and all around the world. I'm here with the president and CEO of Women of Hope International, Kim Cargbo. And for starters, you have a very personal storyline to this, especially you growing up and working in Sierra Leone and some interesting places. Give us a little bit of that history, and then we'll dive into Women of Hope International.
Yeah, so that's why people ask why Sierra Leone, because it's such a small little country and you only hear about it when something bad happens, like wars or Ebola or something like that. So people always ask, why did Women of Hope start in Sierra Leone? And the real answer is that there was a group of women who were all interested in Sierra Leone for whatever reason, had been on mission trips there or whatever, and wanted to do something for women affected by disability. So one of those women who was sort of spearheading that group called me in as a consultant. And the reason for that was because I've spent most of my life in Sierra Leone. So my parents were missionaries and I grew up in Sierra Leone. It is, I would say, a second home to me. It's almost like first, second, it's sort of like two homes at the same time. And so I've lived there since I was 9. And then really throughout my adult life, most of my adult career has been in Sierra Leone as well, in my professional career.
So talk about what you actually do at Women of Hope International.
Women of Hope, we work specifically and primarily with women affected by disabilities. And it started in Sierra Leone and it has since expanded beyond that, where we started looking at how do we multiply the impact that's being had in Sierra Leone, how do we multiply that in other countries around the world, and realizing that just from a time and resource standpoint, it was almost really going to be untenable to try to recreate what was happening in Sierra Leone in other countries, though we were getting requests from all over the world all the time. And so now what we're doing is replicating what we do by training other ministries and church groups who have a heart for the vulnerable and the marginalized, and coming alongside them with training. Because working with people with disability in the developing world is a little bit of a different ball game than it would be in the States. And so our focus is primarily because we feel like it's more of our niche is in the developing world, because the nuances are a little bit different there with disability, and so that's what we're doing now. So we have our hands-on ministry in Sierra Leone working with women affected by disability, and then we work with other ministries and churches around the world helping equip and train them to do the same.
And talk about disability, because I mean, you mentioned it, it's very different, but there it's, if you have a disability, in many cases, you're shunned. You're not even a part of that culture. So talk about what you're actually seeing there.
Yeah, well, and actually what it is first is what you don't see. Because with people with disabilities, often they're hidden. And so that's a lot of times we'll have conversations with other nonprofits and NGOs that are working in the developing world and just sort of ask the question, how many people with disabilities do you have in your programs? And they're like, we don't really have very many people with disabilities in the country that we work in. And it always sort of makes us smile a little bit internally, knowing that actually then what that means is those people are all hidden, because 15% of the world's population has a disability, and that's all around the world. So if you're not seeing 15% of the population you're working with having a disability, then probably it's because they're not being seen, not because they don't exist. And so that's really what we first come alongside other ministries to help them understand is there's a whole group of people in your target population that you're missing. And that's because they're hidden away often because people with disabilities in the developing world, around the world, we're finding that it's pretty universal in the developing world, are considered to be either demonic or cursed by God or just sort of a half human, so not really even a full human being. And so that causes them to be sort of shut away and left out of community life in general and family life even.
And you're coming alongside, you mentioned training the people to do the work there, but a big part of what you do, you're providing health care, health education, you have entrepreneurship programs. Describe some of those programs. Yeah,
we provide a lot of training. Most of the women that we work with have not had an opportunity to go to school. And in fact, in the worldwide, globally, the statistic is that people with disabilities, only 2 to 3% of people with disabilities are literate. And in women, that's only 1%. So the opportunities for education have been have been withheld from them, really. And so coming alongside them with training, whether that's health training, and when we say health, we look at it really holistically. So from a social standpoint, emotional standpoint, if you've been shunned by your family and really have been shut away, just the whole social aspect, not really having relationships ever. And so then coming into your adult life, probably having children, but then, not really understanding how a parent-child relationships works because yours was so dysfunctional. And so, helping them to rethink relationships. And it's just really, from a holistic standpoint, just a full-orbed training and capacity building for them. And then once they've kind of come along a fair amount, so they've rethought who they are and what their capacity is and what their potential is, then to also provide them with economic opportunities and income generation and skills training and business skills training and things like that. But that usually comes down the line a little bit because they need to, some of that other stuff has to be worked out first before they're really ready to succeed in any kind of small business.
How can we help?
We're always, obviously, nonprofits, particularly those that work overseas, we're completely donor supported. And so we're always looking for ways to connect people here in the Mid-South and beyond throughout the states with the women in Sierra Leone. We have a sponsorship program where they can sponsor a woman and come alongside her just with monthly donations and then also prayer. And then we also have, we recently just started a grant program for the women where they have ideas. We have some economic opportunities for them, but there's some who maybe that's not their thing or they have some other ideas of things they'd like to try. They can apply for a grant, and so we actually pair individual donors who provide those grants and the money to support her while she's working out her business opportunity and walk alongside her for 4 months. So those grants can be provided as well to give her an actual opportunity to succeed. And then we have volunteer opportunities all the time here in our Memphis office as well for either events or even in our office. So there's really quite a few ways that people here in the States can get involved and be part of really changing lives on the ground in Africa.
Well, I greatly appreciate all you're doing to make it easy for us in Memphis to be able to make a difference around the world. So thank you for coming on the show.
Thank you, Jeremy.
They're a local nonprofit leading a global movement for peace and justice in Sudan. I'm here with the recruitment director for Operation Broken Silence, Scovia Wilson.
Hello.
And let's start Operation Broken Silence. Really cool what you're doing, especially using media to tell stories and then make an impact. So give us a little bit of history for Operation Broken Silence.
Perfect. So like you said, we're leading a global movement for peace and justice in Sudan through innovative programs. And those include documentary films and also photography exhibits that we actually go to Sudan and take those pictures and bring them back home here in Memphis and showcase it to people.
And a big part of that obviously is, you're talking, many miles away. And so to be able to tell the stories of what these individuals, these families are going through, and in many cases it's a war-torn, you're talking genocide. I mean, this is a really devastating area.
Absolutely.
Talk about what's going on in Sudan.
Right. So to talk about that, I have to talk about myself, because working at Operation Broken Silence is not a job. It's my life. And a little history about me, Jeremy. So I am from Sudan before independence. So 2011 is when North Sudan and South Sudan got split. And my father actually passed in fighting for peace and justice for South Sudan to be what it is today. And so when he passed, my family and I had to move to Kenya in Nairobi, and we lived there for 4 years in a refugee camp, because that was the only place that was accepting refugees at the time. And my mother, being the most just courageous and loving human being I've ever met, she saw the need for education for my brother and I. So in Kenya, right while we were living in the refugee camp, she's like, man, you and your brother need to go and get education. And the closest or the best education is in Uganda. So we actually go to Uganda, get educated there for 4 years, and God willing, end up here in the States. Go to high school here, which was amazing. And I also attend university, which I just graduated last May.
University of Memphis.
Absolutely. And just kind of hopping onto working for Operation Broken Silence was merely a miracle. My whole thing is be a light, be a smile, and be a miracle. And just kind of meeting Katie Barber, who is our fundraising enthusiast right now, and also a photographer. I interviewed her on a podcast my friend and I began when I graduated, called Behind Bluff City. Had an amazing interview, and 2 weeks later she's like, hey, Operation Broken Silence, the place that I'm volunteering for, they're hiring 2 new people, a fundraising enthusiast and a recruitment director. Of course, I was just like, this is a perfect opportunity, but then also very fearful, very afraid, because it's my life, right? Right after college, I get to be a megaphone for people back home. And so to me, it's, again, me being vulnerable and telling my story, so people can see all the other Sudanese girls that look just like me, right? And they're being heard through me. So it's an amazing position that I'm in.
You have the pictures, you have the documentaries,
Absolutely.
and your team goes over there and brings those back and shows what's really going on. But then there's an activation piece, and I think this is what's really cool too, is you're actually going in and you're funding schools being rebuilt, teachers going in, healthcare and food. Talk about the activation piece.
Perfect. So where we work primarily is the Nuba Mountains, and right now the government of Sudan is basically doing genocide to the people in the middle, so on the border of North and South. And so the Nuba people literally flee to the mountains for safety. And our refugee camp, it's on the border of that. It's called Yida, and so 75,000 Sudanese from Nuba are they're living in our refugee camp. And there we have, it ranges from 75,000 to 100,000 Sudanese that are coming for safety. And in that, we have that one school, in the refugee camp, we have 25,000 kids who are not educated, which to me, that is huge, because I wouldn't be the person that I am today without education. So we actually have one school that has 1,000 kids. Oh, amazing. They're just so bright and so joyful, so resilient, and just ready to learn. And we actually sponsor 14 teachers as of right now, but we have 58 teachers that need to go back to those classrooms. But if they're not sponsored, they're going out of their way trying to get another means of work, for just
Right, so that's where the funding,
stuff.
obviously being able to fund them as full-time teachers is really important.
Mm-hmm.
So you mentioned Yida, you have a traveling exhibit called Yida that goes out, and it's everything from churches, corporations, being able to bring this exhibit in. It's tons and tons of pictures that tell the story.
Right.
Describe the Yida exhibit.
So what we wanted to encompass with the photo exhibit, because Katie Barber, the amazing photographer, also with Jacob Geyer, when they went, they didn't just want to take just pictures of anyone. They took the community, right? So when you walk into the exhibit, it's more so you're inside of the refugee camp. We have crepe myrtles. There's small sections like tea time and laundry. So you get to actually be in the refugee camp, but here in Memphis, or wherever that you would want to host it. So our main goal with the photo exhibit is for everyone who actually experiences it, to be in Yida refugee camp with the Sudanese people, to see exactly who they are and what they're not, the perception of them right now, of course, with everything going on, of who our Sudanese person really is. So it's really telling their story.
Fundraising obviously is monumentally important. That's a big piece of this. Awareness, advocacy, you've got all those. You've got a race coming up, a 5K in October, so you've got plenty of opportunities to engage there. What are some ways that we can help?
Perfect. So we have 3 programs. We do media mobilization, so that's more documentaries and the photo exhibits to mobilize people for action and change, right, to inspire them to do that. And second, we have our education and also emergency relief that you spoke about with the 1,000 kids that we're actually putting back in schools and the teachers, so people can actually sponsor the teachers that we need, and it's only $100, Jeremy.
The easy last question is, where do we go? Talk about the website.
Absolutely. We go to Operation Broken Silence. We have a Facebook page, we have a Twitter, and also Instagram page.
Well, Scovia, I greatly appreciate you coming on the show,
Likewise.
Being a voice, sharing what's going on, but definitely encourage people to get involved with Operation Broken Silence, so thank you.
Thank you.
The Spark Awards annually recognize and celebrate individuals and organizations that have made outstanding contributions to the community. This year's recipient of the Nonprofit Award for organizations with budgets greater than $5 million is Resurrection Health.
Memphis is a city with lots of great things happening, but some other big needs, and one of the biggest needs is for primary health care, basic medical care for people. And there is a big shortage of physicians and the ability to get primary care in parts of our city. So our mission is to provide a safety net of primary care for people in those communities.
And you were the recipient of a very large grant, or part of a grant, to be able to expand this, correct?
Yeah, that grant is from the federal government to train young doctors. It's really to develop a workforce of young physicians who want to keep that promise they made to themselves when they decided to become doctors, to serve people and to care about humanity. So it's a grant to help train young physicians in our settings.
And you have actual physical locations, 3 of them?
We do. Resurrection Health has 3 locations. Our biggest is in Parkway Village on American Way. We're also in Whitehaven and in Fraser.
And talk about the disparity, because there are, as you alluded to, certain areas where it's very difficult, and that's what you're focused on, is not only creating the physical locations, but also the doctors live in those areas.
That's true, yeah. There are actually enough doctors for Memphis, but the distribution of them is not even, not just, I guess would be one way to put it. So yeah, we have people living in the communities that I just mentioned, and we work hard to try to deliver basic health care. The diseases that kill most Americans are high blood pressure and diabetes, things like asthma and HIV. So that's what we're fighting for. We're fighting to take care of people with those sorts of conditions, and we do it, as you mentioned, by living and working in the communities. Doing primary care in the settings we're in isn't at the top of the prestige or the income ladder, but there are people who really, especially from their faith motivation, want to do that. And so finding them, and we draw from across the country. There's only 2 or 3 of our 23 residents who are from Tennessee. We've got folks who've come from New York to California, and they live in these communities, as we said. They care for patients, they're mentored by older physicians, and then we send them out. About half of them remain in Memphis, and historically we've only graduated 3 classes thus far, but half of them go to other cities or even overseas to difficult places.
And what makes you proud when you look at, not only the longer legacy, but more importantly with Resurrection Health, the difference you're making?
Yeah, I think pride's difficult. I think in terms more of obedience to God and to well-being, good things for our neighbors. And so I do have a certain sense of satisfaction knowing that hundreds of times every day people are cared for, that surgeries are being done, that babies are being delivered, that people with diseases like HIV are being cared for, and that, Lord willing, it's for the glory of God and the good of our neighbors.
They coordinate and they bring events to life here in Memphis and all around the world. I'm here with the owner of Behind the Scenes, Dusky Norsworthy, and give us, this is your baby, so give us a little bit of history for Behind the Scenes.
Wow, it's been an amazing 17 years. God has been good. We started as a small business in my house, and now 18 employees later, we produce events around the world, like you said.
And these are everything from small events to very large events, trade shows, galas, training sessions, executive retreats. Give us an idea of some of the different things you've done.
everything from board of directors boondoggles in Alaska, maybe fishing, to Dubai. We did a very large high-profile event in Dubai about 2 years ago. We've worked in about every continent. So it's been a good journey.
Yeah, I was about to say, you're already stealing my thunder in the sense that you're literally doing this all around the world. So give us an idea, when you talk about, obviously being Memphis-based, but being able to travel and bring your team of experts, and you're bringing these events to life, you're diving into the weeds. I mean, everything from the planning stage, the kind of brainstorming stage, the creative stage, to then the logistics and bringing your team out on staff to be able to almost be the face of the company, the organization you're representing in many cases. Talk about working in these different countries, though, and just how far of a spread that is.
It is. I feel like our team does an amazing job with it, because we really first start with understanding the culture of the company we're representing, understanding the objective of why they're doing that meeting. That's one whole aspect of it, so that we're representing them. Then going into a different country, there's different cultures to consider, different business ethics to consider. Some of the most challenging that I get up against personally is being a woman working in some of those countries and trying to be respectful of their cultures and trying to figure out how do I need to maneuver and adjust to get what I need done. And those have been interesting lessons to learn. And I don't ever try to hit it. It's not my personality to hit it hard. It's basically how do I get in and figure out how we need to get it, accomplish the mission.
Talk about the creative side, because that's one of the things we work with you a lot is you're extremely creative. So in other words, we just throw you an idea and then all of a sudden, next thing you know, awesome. you've made it this much bigger and better. Talk about the creative stage in terms of sitting down with an organization and saying, okay, what are the questions you like to ask? Talk about that preparation.
It's really all about the why. It's really the why and the objective. And if we can understand that, then we can go back with our incredible team. We're such an eclectic group of talents, and it comes from collaboration and creative ideation sessions that we can actually come up with what we need to do. And we throw a whole lot on the board and whiteboards that doesn't stick or doesn't resonate. And so we really like to go to that client and give them some ideas. Hey, have you thought about? I actually consider myself not creative, but more logistic based. And through the years have surrounded myself with a lot of people that have different creative talents. So we just try to throw it all in together and find out. We don't design something and just sell something off the shelf. We really try to figure out why we're doing it, and then design to that mission. We feel like people remember the experiences they've had. So it's really important to us when we're designing something that's creative of how does it touch and impact the guests that are in attendance, never losing focus of what the objective was.
Talk about, the international side is you have the ability to see what's going on there. So when you talk about trends, technology, things that you can weave into the events and bring that back local, what is that like?
Absolutely. It's actually really fascinating to be in some of the countries we're in that are on such a trend standpoint. Sometimes it's clients that have the budget to allow us to play and navigate in some uncharted channels. So yes, I love being able to borrow some of those ideas or things that we've done and bring it back to even programs like your own.
Well, the other side of this is volunteerism, working with nonprofits. I know you yourself, huge heart for service. Your team, extremely outgoing and engaging, and they lend their talents to volunteer as well. Talk about that side, the service side. I mean, you're in the service industry, but there's a service side in terms of serving the community as well.
Absolutely. Servicing for the community, I'm very blessed with a lot of people that, have a giving heart. And so we found ourselves before we got engaged with you, is that we were out making a small difference, obviously donating a little bit of money and a little bit of time. And we just felt like by rolling it up into a bigger program that we felt like we could see the monumental steps that we were making. You talk a lot about experience and even the preparation, which is the key, but it's all about the experience, right? And there's many viewers that do a lot of events. What advice would you give them in terms of creating that experience? What's one or two tips that you would give them? That's a great question. I think it's remember that people remember what they're engaged with. So sometimes it's the things that are out of sight or out of mind, but people remember how you interact with them, what's authentic, and the personal connections.
Last thing is, talk about the commitment to Memphis, because I think there's a big part of this. You're going all around the world, you're bringing these events to life, but your heart, your home is in Memphis.
Yeah.
So talk about that aspect of working around the world, but ultimately being based right here in Memphis.
Well, we realized with all the travel we were doing, we weren't spending any time in our own backyard from a business standpoint. We were members of a few organizations, and we were kind of donating our time when we had some time. And we felt like we weren't doing anything intentional. And we were members of some organizations, but we weren't giving of our time. And so we sat back and reevaluated and decided Memphis is our home. That's where we're invested in. And we had to make a more intentional effort of not only giving of our money, but giving of our time and making an impact as a company.
So the last question is the easy one, is where can people go to learn more about behind the scenes?
Well, at our website, but I'd love anybody to come out to our office and just meet our team. You know, I just feel like it's our people that make a difference. Well,
when you get to walk through and you see it all come to life, I mean, you have a huge showroom and everything, so that's really cool. So definitely tell them the website.
It is btsmemphis.com.
Well, Dusky, thanks for all you do and for coming on the show and sharing. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Jeremy.
Memphis is known around the world for our legacy in music, barbecue, logistics, and generosity. Our city is always toward the top of the list when it comes to the most giving cities. Perhaps that's why it's no surprise we have so many organizations and individuals who are working hard to make a difference in the lives of others around the world. Nonprofits like Women of Hope International are transforming the lives of women and those disabled in places like Sierra Leone and West Africa, providing health education and healthcare, business skills and economic empowerment, support groups, and other specialized services. Operation Broken Silence is creating media to inspire people to help prevent and end the genocide in Sudan, while working on the front lines to provide emergency relief and to rebuild schools and fund teachers in the area. Then companies like Behind the Scenes are using Memphis Flair to bring to life events of all sizes, from trade shows to training sessions, holiday parties, galas, and more. They're coordinating these events in Memphis and around the world, from Dubai, London, Rome, Shanghai, and all over the USA as well. So yes, indeed, Memphis is still making its mark and changing the world. Thank you for watching The Spark. To learn more about each of the guests and to share your stories of others leading by example, visit WKNO.org and click on the link for The Spark. We look forward to seeing you next month, and we hope that you'll join with us in creating a spark for the Mid-South.
Just like having relevant and accurate information is necessary to make sound hiring and lending decisions, being engaged in our community is important. DataFax is proud to support the positives and be a sponsor of The Spark.
Since 1964, Memphis Theological Seminary has worked to equip men and women of all races and faiths with the spark to do ministry for the real world. We're grateful to serve our community and proud to support WKNO.
Lipscomb & Pitts Insurance has been serving the Mid-South since 1954. We've always focused on supporting our community and believed in promoting the positives, encouraging engagement, and leading by example. Lipscomb & Pitts is proud to be a presenting sponsor of The Spark.